For as long as humans have tilled the earth, they have been haunted by the white ghost. It is a fungal pathogen that appears almost overnight, turning vibrant green leaves into brittle, gray skeletons. We know it as powdery mildew. To the industrial world, this ghost is a multi-billion-dollar problem that requires a heavy-duty chemical response, synthetic sulfur, copper sprays, and systemic toxins that require the grower to wear a respirator and a hazmat suit just to walk through their own rows. But in 1999, an agronomist in the heart of South America decided to stop fighting the ghost with poisons and started looking for a biological off switch. He was not looking for a new laboratory formula. He was looking for a specific photochemical reaction that most scientists had dismissed as quaint folklore. What he found was a molecular incinerator, a substance that is not a poison, but when combined with the power of the morning sun, physically burns fungal spores into oblivion on contact. The result was a crop that was not just healthy, it was pristine. The leaves regained a deep, waxy luster, and the harvest was entirely free of chemical residues. We have been conditioned to believe that a bigger harvest requires a complex chemical subscription. But this discovery offered a shield that costs pennies and is sitting in your kitchen right now. This is the story of how milk can turn into a solar-powered fungicide for the industry. Welcome to Ancestral Yields. If you believe that the future of food belongs to the independent grower, take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Dr. Wagner Bettiol, a researcher for Embrapa, the Brazilian Agricultural Research Corporation, documented this discovery. In the late 1990s, Bettiol observed small-scale, resource-poor farmers who were struggling to keep up with the skyrocketing costs of industrial fungicides. He noticed a persistent rumor among the most successful organic growers that they were skipping the chemical warehouse and going straight to the dairy. Bettiol decided to bring this peasant science into the lab. His 1999 study, titled "Effectiveness of Cow's Milk in the Control of Zucchini Squash Powdery Mildew," was a careful piece of investigative biology. He was not just looking for any result. He was looking for a replacement for the industrial gold standards of the time, specifically the synthetic fungicides phenoramol and benomol. What Bettiol discovered sent shockwaves through the local agricultural community. In controlled trials, a 10% milk solution did not just compete with the chemicals. In several instances, it outperformed them. He found that milk created a protective environment on the leaf that synthetic toxins simply could not replicate. He published his results in the journal Crop Protection, documenting that this was not just a home remedy, it was a biological breakthrough that offered farmers a way to step off the chemical treadmill forever. He proved that the white ghost could be stopped by the most basic of agricultural products. But to understand why a liquid meant for nutrition can act as a lethal fungicide, we have to look closer than the naked eye can see. Every leaf on every plant is a theater of invisible physics. When you spray a 10% milk solution onto a leaf, you are not just coating it, you are setting a molecular trap. Milk contains specific proteins, namely lactoferrin and whey. On their own, these are harmless nutrients. But when they are hit by the ultraviolet rays of the sun, a radical transformation occurs. This is the science of photooxidation. This process is unique to the milk and sun combination. Under the intensity of the sun, milk proteins undergo a chemical reaction that produces free radicals, specifically singlet oxygen. To a microscopic fungal spore, these free radicals act like a molecular incinerator. They physically oxidize and burn the cell walls of the fungus on contact. It is a targeted, solar-powered strike that leaves the plant's own cells completely unharmed. Unlike the chitin-based signals that tell the plant to defend itself, Milk is a contact weapon. It does not need to be absorbed into the plant's vascular system. It sits on the surface, waiting for the sun to activate it. The moment a fungal spore lands on a milk-treated leaf, the oxidative burst shreds its outer membrane before it can even send a root into the plant. It is a law of physics working in favor of the gardener. If this method was so effective and based on such fundamental physics, why is it not more well known? By the middle of the 20th century, the business of protecting food had shifted from prevention to subscriptions. The global fungicide market, now worth over $20 billion a year, was built on a model of planned obsolescence. Synthetic fungicides like sulfur and copper, often called organic but still mineral-heavy and harsh, work by making the environment hostile. But they come with a high cost. They build up in the soil, they can be toxic to earthworms, and they can actually harm the very plants they are supposed to protect if applied in the wrong weather. The innovation of the chemical industry was not just in the science, it was in intellectual property. You cannot put a royalty on a gallon of milk. Because of this, the milk secret became a direct threat to the crop protection industry. If a farmer could replace a $200 bottle of Finaramol with $2 worth of dairy, the billion-dollar profit margins of the chemical giants would evaporate. Because no corporation could own the milk remedy, none would fund the massive marketing campaigns needed to bring it to the mainstream. The conversation was shifted. They focused on standardized synthetic formulas that they could control, while the simple, self-sufficient science of the dairy was quietly dismissed as fringe. But the search for modern, high-stakes proof eventually moved from the zucchini patches of Brazil to the multi-million-dollar wine industry of South Australia. Researchers at the University of Adelaide, led by Peter Crisp, were facing a crisis. Wine grapes are incredibly sensitive to powdery mildew, and they are even more sensitive to chemical residues. If a grower uses too much sulfur or copper, the flavor profile of the wine is ruined, and the vintage becomes worthless. The Australian wine industry needed a soft solution that actually worked. They revisited Bettiol's trials on a massive scale, testing milk across thousands of acres of premium grapes. The results were undeniable. In trial after trial, the milk solution provided excellent control over mildew without affecting the delicate sugar levels or the flavor of the grapes. But they discovered something even more profound. The milk was not just killing the fungus, it was feeding the phyllosphere. The phyllosphere is the microbial community that lives on the surface of every leaf. While synthetic fungicides act like napalm, killing both the bad fungus and the beneficial bacteria, milk acted as a selective probiotic. It killed the powdery mildew through photooxidation, and it provided amino acids and sugars that fed the beneficial microbes. This created a biological barrier that made it even harder for the white ghost to return. For the modern homesteader, this method is remarkably easy to implement. But the protocol must be followed strictly to achieve the incinerator effect. You do not need expensive equipment. You need a spray bottle and a clear forecast. Historical data from both Brazil and Australia suggests a ratio of 1 part milk to 9 parts water. There are 3 critical rules for this protocol. First, the UV window. Do not apply this at night, in the evening, or on heavily overcast days. The photooxidative reaction requires UV light to trigger free radicals. The ideal time is early morning, just as the dew is drying. This ensures the milk is on the leaf when the sun's UV rays are strongest. Second, the fat factor. While whole milk works, most researchers in commercial vineyards prefer skim milk. The reason is simple. Milk fats can go rancid in the sun and create an unpleasant smell, Skim milk contains the necessary proteins, lactoferrin and whey, without the fats that cause odor. Third, the coverage. Spores hide in the shadows. You must spray the leaves until they are dripping, ensuring you hit both the tops and the undersides. This is not just a spray and pray method. It is a physical application of physics and biology. You will see the results in the plant's physical phenotype, the leaves often becoming darker and developing a waxy sheen. Milk also provides a foliar dose of nitrogen and minerals. In short, you are feeding the plant at the same time you are defending it. Global fungicide use continues to rise while the soil's natural resilience declines. As we seek sustainable answers, the real question is not if milk works, but why we were taught to ignore it for so long. When a low-cost solution meets corporate resistance, the progress of the common grower slows. The research of Wagner Bettiol and Peter Crisp proves that the answer was never in a more toxic spray. It was in the realization that the garden is not a sterile battlefield. It is a living system. When combined with the power of the sun, a simple glass of milk becomes a high-tech biological shield. The harvest of the future depends on what we dare to rediscover. We have spent 70 years looking for answers in a laboratory, only to find that many of them were already sitting on our kitchen tables. If you are ready to take back your garden, like this video and join us at Ancestral Yields as we uncover the secrets they tried to bury. See you in the garden.